Hey, my name is Felix, and I've been playing a lot of Once Human recently. Just completed my base, more or less, and wanted to show you what I've done and give you a tour of the house. So I'll show you how the base was built, talk a little bit about the mechanics of building in Once Human, and then give you the tour. Let's begin. So I want to start by just kind of showing you how the base was really built, mostly the exterior of the base, and just kind of my thought process, and maybe even talk a bit about like how I felt of the building mechanics in this game, because for me personally, I've really enjoyed it and they've been fun. Right now I'm just going to be laying down the foundation, as I believe everything in this game, at least base structure wise, has to be on a foundation except for like a couple things. Also, it's really good lay out the foundation and just kind of get the area I want the house to be on. And I kind of don't remember where I initially built the base, because this is like phase 1 in Once Human. There's like different phases or like time gated areas, and I remember building this somewhere on a mountain, as I generally wanted the mountain kind of view and the vibe, like thinking along like a house in Colorado or something was my mindset going in when I started building it. And I don't remember where area 1 is where I built this house, because eventually the time gate opens up and then you have to move on to the next area to get like the next set of resources in the game and to like hit the higher level of stuff. So I moved the house, and I'll be honest, I don't remember where phase 1 is of this house. Also, that is going to be what you see at first before we end up, like, by the time I get to the end of the video, the house will probably have changed quite a bit. It's like, this is rough draft version of house, at least the main exterior and the idea. And then it gets changed as I unlock new things and I get some more materials and stuff, so we'll get to that. Anyways, as you have been kind of watching, talking a bit about the mechanics of Once Human's base building, it's really, there's a lot of quality of life that I personally enjoy. It's not the most complex system compared to like, say, Valheim or obviously like Enshrouded or something. I don't know what kind of building system it is or what to even call it, but generally started using the term prefabs because you have entire blocks rather than building with individual bricks. You just have the entire structure and you're just kind of putting them together. And when you consider games on a similar scale, such as Palworld or Rust, maybe even Ark, for me, at least considering I've never really played Rust, but maybe considering Palworld, I find that the quality of life in Once Human is really good. Mostly because, as you've been watching, I'm in a free cam mode that they just let you have when you're base building. Like, you're in your territory, you have a free cam. That's amazing to me. Now, some things that do get kind of finicky, as you kind of been watching this entire time when I was laying my foundation, I want to have like a different lower level and then like it go up. Really awkward to do. And you have to use like staircases and try and like snap it just in the right place so that the staircase is like going off the edge, and then you can put a foundation connected. There's a new method I discovered later on with like half walls, but it's still all kind of jank a little bit with the snapping. But continuing on very much things I like, I'm glad that survival games, or at least more survival games, are really taking on like universal storage. When you're building in your territory, if things are in a box, you can access it. I love that. I'm a big fan. I hope that is like the norm for survival games personally, because I don't know, I just feel it's kind of annoying having to run back to crate 1 in some, big room for 50 wood every single time. So those are my kind of thoughts, initial thoughts on the building of Once Human. Like, it's simple enough where you can build easily, you can tear things down, and you can build a house like really fast. But it's also just complex enough where we can make really nice builds, a bit more complex kind of structures, and really have a bit more creativity than some other games. And I think it's a nice blend. Well, anyways, going back to my base and my house and what my thoughts were going into it and what I wanted to build, seeing the mountain and just the materials I had, everything just felt like it'd be nice to build a traditional style kind of house. And then I did start seeing that there were a lot more modern things, especially glass windows, a lot of modern houses in the game. And I was like, you know what? Maybe it would be cool to build something a bit more modern, or at least throw modern stuff into it, or maybe even build my own modern house. Then I looked and saw that for the glass windows in the game, that's like a certain material is a furniture pack that costs about $50 that I don't have because, for $50, I could buy the entire collection of Neko pairs. So no, I did not buy the $50 pack, and instead I'm going to just commit to my traditional house because I think it did come out really nice and I have enjoyed building it. And then just throwing in where I can, maybe try and make it a little bit modern here or there. And at this point, I'm coming close to completing the foundation. I don't know if I would ever do something this grand again, or at least this early, because this was a lot of bricks. You need a lot of bricks for this. Fortunately for me, in this game, in Once Human, there are what they call specializations, which give you like special perks and things. And I fortunately got the one that gives me double yield when I smelt bricks in my furnace, which means if I smelt 99 bricks, I get 198 instead every single time. For me, it's amazing. In terms of late game and actual like killing bosses and stuff, probably useless, but as a base builder, it was the best thing for me. Now that we're actually getting to building the exterior of the house, one of the things I wanted to go into and wanted to make sure I do, make sure that I'm not using one single material, because then the house can get kind of boring looking, especially if you're using one single color. You don't really have that much options, and especially at this point in the game, I did not have any of the wallpapers that you can get in the game. So I wanted to kind of experiment and try and figure out how I can make the walls a bit more interesting. This is definitely a huge waste of structure space because, as you can kind of see in the top left, I only have 700 structures I can put down. But I did want to have like an accent piece for my walls, and so I'm kind of mixing up the cobblestone half wall and a wooden half wall. Moving forward here, I'm mostly working on the back of the house. I had a really good idea in my head of what I wanted the backyard area and the back of the house to look like. And that's kind of why I'm starting here. And I knew I wanted some sort of big balcony deck area. I know there are prefab balconies in the game, but they are really small. They are meant to be little tiny, smaller balcony pieces. But I wanted a huge deck, as it's kind of a focal point for the backyard. It'll make it look interesting and just adding a bit more layer and depth to the house, as that is kind of one thing, bit of advice when building houses in games like these, especially games where instead of blocks or bricks, you are just building with giant squares and you have to kind of put all the square pieces together. It's trying to figure out ways to make the house less flat. You want to not have a square. And ways I do that, at least for this house, is trying to add some balconies, adding some decks, and then just making sure that we have different layers going in and out, and yeah, avoiding just one massive rectangle. So I think you'll see me try and do that a lot with this house, is every time at least I just wanted none of the sides of the house to be too flat, so at least trying to put in something that could make it a bit more varied or add a bit more depth to it, so it's just not flat. And one of the things I did try out on this house, it's kind of finicky once I got into roofs. I think it would be a lot better if I didn't have an actual rooftop. Maybe it was something modern with a flat roof. But if you use these small wooden ceiling pieces and then some small walls, you can make jutted out pieces of the house with bits of overhang just to add that extra level of detail. Also, I'll be honest, I'm probably gonna say it a lot for this style of house. I think it's traditional in my head. I don't actually know what it's called. Like, I'm not an architect, so I don't know if there are people who are architects or people who just really know actual house designs and know what kind of real style this should be technically called. I don't really know. I just think it's a very common style house, and it's very much found in America, at least, I think. And I'm pretty sure it's traditional, because it's like a big family home kind of vibe to it, I guess. But this one is a bit more modern, at least I wanted it to be. And it's also in the mountain, so those kind of traditional mountain mansion vibes, house thing. I don't actually know its classification or designation. Maybe someone can tell me. They have the better knowledge of that. By the way, I think it's kind of funny. Maybe no one else has noticed it but me, mostly because I was the one, doing it. But more I watch back, there are a lot of times where I may just randomly pause, or you'll just see me like staring at the house. Does that happen for anybody else, where you just like blankly stare at one face for like 30 minutes until the idea pops in your head? That felt like it came a lot to me when I'm building this. Is eventually I kind of run out of an idea, and I'm just watching and just hoping my brain pops up and a light bulb's like, boom, that's what you should build there. Definitely happens a lot, but I think that's why the free cam to me has been such a game changer when building, at least for definitely in this game, because it lets me get a much bigger overview and really like look at the bigger picture of what I want to build, and just kind of give me some time to think about the design a bit more. And yep, this probably isn't the best way to build bases or houses. In this, I'm kind of building as I go, and just whatever part of the house I reach, maybe I'll build something there if an idea pops in my head, rather than actually having full complete sections and kind of putting them together. Like, you'll start seeing me occasionally put in the roof as I go along throughout the house. I'm kind of building it back and then moving forward until I reach the front of the house, but I don't even want to start talking about the roof or how that went into. That was just overall a bit of a mess. I'm pretty sure roofs in like every game at this point is everyone's nightmare. So like, it's like drawing hands for some reason. They're always so weird. And Once Human is, even though the base building has been for the most part really nice and not too complicated, not too many bugs, at least in my experience, the roofing though, on the other hand, has been something else. Snapping for a lot of the roofing pieces and parts they're not great. They just don't want to go where you want them, and it's horrible. And then there's some roofing parts that can like overlap with other roofing parts, but then some are really angry and they don't want any parts next to them. It's a whole mess, which is kind of why it was probably one of the things that took me the longest when building this house. After I kind of finished up the main structure, was just putting in the ceiling and then just filling in the roof where I can and figuring out how it should flow. Like, whenever you're building with prefabs in these kind of games, roofs are always just so weird when you're building in not complete even numbers, or where your structures don't exactly align correctly. So a lot of just filling in the gaps, which pretty much what I'm doing now is putting in the interior, deciding how I kind of want the house layout to be inside. As one of the main things was really including a skywalk kind of hallway, catwalk, I think. Don't really know the actual name of it. I believe it's like a catwalk hallway, and it opens up the area for the living room. But last thing I'm doing, I did not like, this is supposed to be a garage kind of workshop area, which is very unfortunate, by the way. For some reason in this game, the garage that houses your vehicle is just a couple pixels or something. The hitbox is too tall to be placed into the height of a wall, like a singular wall. So unless you want a really, really tall building, garages just don't fit inside of normal rooms, and it's really weird to me. So you can't actually put the vehicle in the garage, or at least in the building I made. Well, kind of just sits outside. Ended up working out as I turned the garage into a workshop anyways, and this is pretty much gonna do it for the exterior of the house. Now, once we jump over and I start showing you the interior, it's gonna fast forward a bit in time to what the build is currently, and I'll show you all the small modifications I've done, and then talk about more of the interior. Let's jump on over. Okay, so here we are at where the base actually is, and the current updated version of it now. I want to say that the house is more or less complete. There are definitely areas I would like to fill in or fill out because I'm just missing things entirely. And I'm also a bit of a liar when I was like, yeah, small changes and things here or there, but I would say it's definitely a lot more fleshed out than it was before. I wouldn't say the exterior has undertaken any massive changes, but I've definitely added an extra level of detail as I've leveled up and just played the game more, got more things to use. So if you can kind of see on the front, I've done a lot of landscaping here, And one of the things that kind of makes me sad about my landscaping here, as you see, it's a giant fence. And I'd rather have some sort of trimming like this, because you'd have a pathway, I guess. I don't really know what you'd want to call it, but some sort of trim to border off the landscaping from the normal paths that you use. And unfortunately, the only thing that's kind of like that in the game is an open frame with nothing in the middle of it. But it is one square frame with like sides and a roof, so I can hide it here where I actually have a roof and sides, but unfortunately can't do that same method here. So there's no trimming. I kind of have to use a fence, and I guess it still kind of works, but just not preferable. I think it's just really high. But I think the landscaping turned out really nice. It just adds a whole bunch of color now to the house. I just love greenery and throwing plants around. And then speaking earlier about trying to add depth and make sure nothing is too flat, give it a bit of variation. This, for example, used to be just a flat wall, had windows on it, decided, yeah, that was really flat. The whole front of the house kind of was a bit square, so added another balcony there, and I think it just adds that extra bit of detail, and I think it looks really good. Came out really nice. So I'm going to be just showing you the entire walk around the house first before we go inside, and over here, got my water filtration system on how it works in the game. For some reason, okay, so that right there is the water pump in the game, pumps up water, and then it takes it over into this thing, which for some reason is also called a water pump. That's a water pump. That's also a water pump. They're all water pumps. And so it pumps the water from the pump that pumps water into my infiltration machine. And then I get all sorts of water. Like, I have a lot of water. But one idea that I also like to use whenever you're building in games like this. So an idea that I enjoy using often, especially in games like this, you always have to kind of use materials in different ways. Think about what other ways can they be functional, but also be used in a design way. And I think that, sure, this is my water filtration machine and my water system, but in a way, if we're thinking about how this house would actually work, this somewhat looks like, to me, maybe you just have to use your imagination a little bit, but if you like look at it right, it looks like a central AC unit that many American homes have on the outside of it, just a giant central AC unit machine thing. I think that perfectly fits this kind of house and would be probably on the side of the house like this, as well as, so this, I have a pylon switch, which controls a bit of my electronics over here. Yeah, don't imagine that my house, my very nice traditional house for some really nice family, has gun turrets in front of it. But in order to make sure I can turn them on and off, I have an electronic switch for that. But I think it kind of also looks like an electrical meter gauge that you would find on a house, and your electrical people would be doing stuff with that, you know? And I think that's always cool to figure out ways that you can have something functional in the game, but also think about how, in a design way, it can fit the theme of your build. Okay, so we're going to continue just wrapping around the house, and I love doing these where you can walk under the balcony. It's like small tunnels and stuff. But now we reach the backyard. We've got the huge mountain view that I was definitely going for, and I love this. I think it came out really well. I do wish that maybe I had a bit more to add to the backyard. I don't really know what else I could add. Like, in my mind, originally when I was making this, obviously a pool would probably be here. Like, most buildings would probably have some sort of pool. I don't have a pool. I don't know if I can eventually ever find like a print that's just straight blue and fake it, but now it's just kind of empty. But we do have grilling area, and then this is where my farms currently are. Just some nice planter boxes. Now I know some people have like massive acres of land and super efficient farms. You know, I just have a small personal garden, and that's really it. And a single bee that waters it. It's not exactly amazing, but it gets the job done for what I need, at least in the game. And then I've got some bins. This is actually another cool thing, like a compost bin. That's how you get fertilizer in the game, but it also just looks like a trash can. And one of my favorite additions that I somewhat just completed recently is this fire pit area. I think it just looks so good. It's got cozy, nice, warm vibes, and then the view. And also now you can kind of see that it's turning night and just the house starts to glow, all the lights turn on. Also, talking a bit earlier, whenever I made that window, this window here, that's got a bit of an overhang, so it's kind of jutted out from the rest of the house. Yeah, so the roofing was a little awkward, but fortunately, I ended up having the idea, and I think it works. It's a little large, but I made a chimney. And I think it gives the house another level of detail and just something to give it some height as well. And I think it was a good idea. Now, I don't know if it would have been better if I had some sort of red brick pattern on it instead. Maybe some red would definitely stand out, make it just have a extra splash of color. But we make do, and I think it came out nice. We'll shuffle along here, and this was also just a really neat idea that just came out, I think, really well. I love this kind of tunnel I've got going on, and the way I've done that is by having my workshop and garage. It is in a way detached from the main house, but still connected through this kind of overhang tunnel hallway thing. And it just creates a really nice pathway from the backyard to the front yard. But we actually have the garage and workshop. Now, sadly, as I was talking about before, the car can't actually fit in the garage because for some reason that hitbox is just barely too big for the roof here, and it doesn't make any sense. They could just make it slightly a little bit smaller, but whatever. My rusty, jank, crusty car will just get even more crusty sitting out here. But inside of the garage, got the workshop. And as with most survival games, this is where a majority of the work is done. So on my chest, my crafting tables, furnace, and I think I just like pointing it out whenever I think of something functional, but making use of it in different ways. So this is my electrical generator, which powers the entirety of the base at this point, I think. But it also, in a way, looks like a boiler. And it has this kind of atmospheric light on it. So it really fits in with this workshop mechanical theme. And then upstairs in my workshop is where the rest of the crafting tables are, and where I've been storing all my weapons in the game. So not much else to it. But now that we've checked out all around the house, we can finally go hide, even though I left the door open. Well, we've let in all the bugs, but finally we can get inside the main interior of the house, now actually furnished. And let me tell you, when I first started, it was kind of depressing at first. It took me a while to really get into it because I had no furniture, and at one point it was just completely empty. It was pretty sad. It looked like I just moved in. But now we finally got some furnishings. Unfortunately, a lot of the furnishings are mainly duplicates that I get because in Once Human, for some really weird reason, it kind of blows, but you can only get furniture really through buying it with real money or finding it in crates and chests like throughout the world. But you can either find a single copy usage of it, so you can only use it once, it's just like one couch that you get, or the actual blueprint to be able to create more. And unfortunately, I haven't really found many blueprints. I just find the one use version. So a lot of the furnishings I have used are from the battle pass, and I've kind of gotten to the point I think the game would not let me use anymore. I found out that there's apparently like a max amount of one piece of furniture that you can use, and I've used this console thing a lot, so I have done as much interior as I can. Unfortunately, this is where I would have a TV. If I had a TV, I'd put it here. Instead, we have this old radio that... It's like the 60s, and we're listening to old baseball games on our fancy, or our super old radio in our fancy modern house. Instead, we've got an old 60s radio. Yeah, it's not great. If I ever find a TV, I hope I find one, and I could put it there. And then in here, we got a bathroom. Once again, nicely furnished for the most part from what I have available to me, but yeah, let's just not talk about there's no where you do the business, because there's no toilet nor is there a sink. So this is a very all-purposeful bathtub, but we're gonna pretend we have other things. We're just gonna close that door and we'll head this way. So going through this doorway is where the kitchen is, table, and the main kitchen. So I wanted to test out how this looks, and I think it came out really well. So these extended low cabinets that you get from the battle pass, I thought they would make a really nice countertop. Now, the other way to make countertops typically in this game is kind of like this. There's this table here, and you can use half walls and ceiling pieces, but it's really big, and I don't have any prints to be able to cover it up either to make it look really nice. So I wanted something that fit a bit better into this space, and I think the extended low cabinets turned out really well. Plus, they have actual cabinets, so I think it made out for a nice countertop. And then in here, I have what was, in a way, meant to be a dining room, and also doubles as a sunroom, but I'm out of furniture. And once again, I have one of this. I've only ever found one version of this table, and I've never found another like dining table. This sucks. So maybe one of these days, this room will be completely furnished as a dining or sunroom. But until then, it's just a nice relaxing room, I guess, to be in. Moving through the living room, heading to the staircase, and I like that picture. It's a beautiful picture. And if you play this game, I hope you respect the jellyfish lady, because I do. she's friend, jellyfish friend. Yeah, so once we kind of get up here, I will say it starts to gets a little sad because I've run out of furniture. I try to place things where I can, and you can kind of get the idea. See, I faked a TV here. I think it looks like a TV. I don't know why if this was a TV, or we're watching a commercial for breakfast bar, for peanut butter and granola, apparently, I guess. It's actually just an advertisement painting, I think, but now it's a flat screen TV in this area, which would be a lounge. But now I've got one sad couch and it's just empty. I hope I get to find more furniture. And here, keep all my deviants right above where you can have the look down below all the lights, and what I was talking about earlier, the catwalk kind of hallway where you can see down below. Coming along this way is where the backyard huge deck is. Got some sitting out here, and then you can just, what a view from here. You get to see the entire backyard, all this. I love this deck. Probably one of my favorite features of the house. I'm very happy with it. Just very happy with it. We'll continue along, and okay, so this hallway is nicely decorated for now. I still wish, I'm hoping I find bigger or better carpet soon. This is quite literally the only carpet I have. I'm hoping once I continue playing the game more, maybe I'll find more carpet blueprints. But this hallway is nice. It's furnished. It looks nice. But okay, look, I just want everyone to be calm for a second. I know it's gonna get a little crazy. These next two rooms, I need you to prepare yourselves, and we're gonna look at it real quick, and then you're not gonna talk about it ever again. You're just gonna forget about it in your mind because it's gonna be so mind-blowing, amazingly good. So when I open my bedroom, there's nothing here except my bed. I have no furniture. So we're just gonna pretend there's, we can walk out to the balcony, see the little small balcony to look in the backyard, and then there's a slightly bigger one this way, but I just sleep in a crummy bed on a mattress on a really rusty. Okay, see, that's the bedroom. That's all you needed to know. And in this room, which would be like another bedroom, there's nothing. There's a balcony with some sitting. Okay, we're gonna pretend you didn't see any of this. I'm sorry. I just need more furniture. I mean, there's a closet here. This is my dark secret closet. Actually, this is what these are the secrets I keep in my closet, that these two rooms are just completely bare in my otherwise pretty nice house up to this point. We just will pretend you didn't see that. We'll completely forget about it, out of the mind, and I'll have you completely stare at this really nice living room. Yes. Forget you saw anything above. and just focus on the living room. But that is going to do it for the entirety of my house and my base. I've had a lot of fun building it thus far. Just hopefully more furniture finds its way to my inventory at some point. Just gotta get lucky with some of these crates. Just have not been very fortunate with my looting. I hope that you've enjoyed. Maybe you'll take some inspiration from this house. And if you did enjoy the house tour, hope you considered dropping a like or even subscribing. I do like to build in all sorts of games like this. I absolutely love base building. So maybe we'll do some more. I want to eventually, if I get more things, make other houses in this game. It'd be cool. Maybe other styles, maybe one day make that modern house, and who knows, buy $50 worth of glass, I guess, and not the other thing. Yeah, hope you take some inspiration from this, or just enjoyed it overall, and have had fun with my rambling about house things. Anyways, my name is Felix, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye!